Hello, peeps. It's Hillbilly Halfwit. How are you all today? Today we're doing a video on King Charles, the Clermont Con, and how he's making millions off the Crown Estates. Funny that, how he's pushing Clermont and making millions at the same time, isn't it? I wonder if that's got anything to do with it. So let's get going. Before I carry on, I have to read this out because I am doing content that's reviewing something. The content in this video is intended for comedic purposes only. The views expressed in this video are not to be taken as factual information or a representation of my personal beliefs. I am critically reviewing the info and videos I show as examples. Now then, since Labour have come to power, they've made a new law that allows King Charles to use his Crown Estates. And if you don't know that, the Crown Estates mostly on the seabed, and they own it for a certain amount, but they've never done anything with it before. So you can't do anything on the Crown Estate land. But they've realised that they can lease it out and make money. They have realised there is billions to be made here, and Charlie Boy has thought, let's get it out there. I've never made any money off Crown Estates before, none of the royals, so let's do it. Let's start renting this out to people. That's what's happening here. So they're renting this out to companies, and then the taxpayer is putting money into this by every time your bills go up. I think it's about 15% of all our electricity bills goes to help these companies put these windmills up so they don't lose any money. And then Charlie gets paid by him. He gives some of that to the UK government. But they can also use that Crown Estates now to borrow money on. So they can borrow against the Crown Estates, which they couldn't do before last week. And they can buy, what's calls with it? On the stock market. They can buy and sell on the stock market with this imaginary money. So they could say that area there is worth £1 billion, that Crown Estate. So we can borrow £1 billion off the bank, and then we can use that on the stock market. They could not do that before last week. It was not allowed. That's what your Clermont is doing. It's raking in the money. King Charles strikes £60 billion deal with Labour that will power 20 million homes off the Crown Estates. Now he's letting the taxpayer have a good bit of this money. That's what it looks like. But then, as I said, I'll show you in the back end of this that they have created this new law where they can borrow on Crown Estates, which they never had before. So they're going to be able to make millions upon millions upon millions, if not into the billions, trading the money. So there's the British taxpayer, and there's Charlie Boy. I'm going to be honest, I'd never really had a bad thing about Charlie. I know there's business with Diana and everything, but he was doing a decent job. But this has made me think, you scheming what? King Charles will help lead a new clean energy revolution in Britain. Millions of homes will be powered by new offshore wind farms that are on Crown Estate, which belongs to the monarch. The move, in partnership with the government's newly created state-owned energy company, will create thousands of jobs and turn Britain into a clean energy superpower. Trouble is, we can't store any of the energy. There is nothing to store it, and it doesn't work all the time. And it's costing us more money than we're putting in, and our bills are going up. So my argument for this has always been build 2 or 3 more nuclear power stations and have electricity for free for everybody. And then all that money would go into paying for the power station, so nobody would lose out. But no, they want the money off us, and the money has to come off us as the country collapses. That's what it's all about. The eco-minded monarch has asked for the profits from the Crown Estates wind farm deals to be used for wider public good, rather than an extra funding for the royals. This sounds so brilliant for us all, doesn't it? The agreement will drive up to 60 billion in investment. I can't read this all out, this video will be too long, so you'll have to read it all yourself. That sounds fantastic, doesn't it? The Crown Estate already has plans to deliver 30 gigawatts of new renewable offshore off the coast by 2030. But now it has partnered with the Labour government GB Energy Scheme. So the Crown Estate has partnered with Labour government. Now, yes, I did say that. And you wonder why everything was going wrong before for the Conservative government. It's because the civil service, everybody had decided to remove the Conservative government. Good or bad, but that is not good for democracy, is it? Includes building more offshore wind farms and pumping money into newer technologies such as carbon capture, storage, hydrogen, wave, and tidal energy. But these are all companies that are going to get money for free off the taxpayer, and then they're going to own it all. So here we are. It's unclear how much of the 8.3 billion of taxpayers' money used for the energy firm will go towards this initiative, which is expected to make 60 billion of private investment. The GB Energy is set to lead energy projects throughout development stages to speed up the process before returning them to private ownership but maintaining a stake. It could, however, become an operator of such projects over time. The Crown Estates own a vast majority of Britain's seabed, stretching up to 12 nautical miles from the mainland, and leases parts of it to wind farm operators. The estate has 16 billion portfolio of land and seabed and returns its profit to the government, a small portion of which goes to the monarchy. But, as I said, they can now borrow against that 16 billion portfolio of land and use that borrowed money, which they couldn't do last week. Charlie's going to make a lot of money out of this, billions. Now then, the Crown Estate belongs to the monarch in right of the Crown, but it is not his private property because it's ours. It's our private property. This is the second major announcement from the Labour on energy since coming to power earlier this month. Now, this is Ed Miliband. He does 15,000 air miles per year, and he's the one telling the rest of us not to fly. Has announced the lifting of an offshore wind ban within days of entering government. Here we are. Here's the bit that nobody's been saying about on TV. In a separate bill, the Crown Estate is set to be given new borrowing powers confirmed in last week's King's speech, which are designed to help it invest more in preparing its seabeds for offshore wind and other projects. Under current rules, the Crown Estate cannot use its cash reserves to invest because it might hold them against the prospect of future financial losses. Crown Estate Chief Dan Labad said the Crown Estate exists to serve the national interest, including stewarding our natural resources to deliver a decarbonised energy system. With the new powers, by partnering with government, we can drive greater investment in this future of our country and with it support nature recovery and job creation. But what this allows them to do is to put that on the stock market. That's what it allows it to do. And listen to this. Labour have already been forced to admit that their flagship energy company won't generate any energy, and now we know it's a financial black hole funneling taxpayers' money into reducing risk for multi-million-pound energy companies. Labour's entire energy policy puts ideology above the national interest. Their absurd 2030 decarbonisation target will hike bills and ramp up our independence on batteries and cables from China. They want to kneecap our domestic oil and gas production to import foreign fuel with higher carbon emissions. Then Conservatives will hold into account. Nobody will, because they're all at it. They're all at it. Now, you can read this yourself. This video is going to go on for too long. But that's it. But that's what it's all about there. In a separate bill, the Crown Estate is set to be given new borrowing powers confirmed in last week's King's speech, where they can borrow against the 12 miles of seabed. And that was going to create billions and billions of pounds that they can invent that never existed before. This is all about money, people. This is all about money. It's the same. The national trusts will be doing the same thing on the hills with our ground that the sheep used to put be on. They'll be doing that. They'll be borrowing money on these carbon credits. That's what's going on. So wake up, people. So that's one enough for today. Once you see through the mist and you see what's going on, you can't unsee it. So see ya. All the best, guys. Ta-da!